tell us a little bit about why we should be excited about Universe at War?
Well, you've got a real-time strategy game with 3 completely different factions. They've got full research trees, so even in mirror matches, they won't play the same way. You can customize them. We've got tactical dynamics in the game so that you can adjust your tactics on the fly to have different strategies. We're pushing the limits of real-time strategy games. We're changing some of those hardcore set rules that people have been used to for years. You know, there's no more piles of resources. You're moving around the maps. You're, having all this kind of different new and fun ways to play real-time strategy games that you haven't had before in any game that's been out yet.
There's a lot of stuff in this game, and all the races seem very different. How can you make sure that you're ending with a really good balanced game?
Well, lots of multiplayer play is the first thing. I mean, we play a ton of multiplayer games at the office. Also, we've really tried hard. There are a ton of differences on the factions that some of the stuff behind the scenes is unified in a way that it makes it a little more manageable to balance. But I will not kid you at all. The game is insanely complex, and it is very difficult, and we're going to be balancing up until the day it ships. We're also going to have a beta, of course, so that we can get other people into it and get more eyes on the project to help us balance the game and get the multiplayer to a point where it really feels fun and competitive.
It truly does play completely different each faction. I mean, it's a whole new way of thinking, really. It's not just simply reskinning, and having another side. You totally have to change the way your brain thinks and the way that you lay out your strategy and the way that you customize things, because the cool thing is you can always change those research trees and change, the different abilities that you're utilizing in your faction in order to counter what's coming at you, rather than, oh, well, I've already lost because this guy's already rushing me with this, So that's a really neat thing about this game that sets it apart, I think.
This game looks a lot like, seems a lot like StarCraft, one of the big RTS games of all times. They're just coming up with a sequel now, so are you planning to take them on, and how are you going to win this fight?
Well, StarCraft is the million-pound gorilla of RTS games. It's a classic game, It's inspired so many other people, and, we really love it just for the fact that it was the game that really came out and said, hey, you can really do factions completely differently. If anything, it really inspired us to go, okay, well, let's see how far we can push that, and let's see how far we can take factions and make them different. We're trying to do some things differently. We're trying to push a little bit of the evolution of the real-time strategy game towards, things where people go, hey, this feels really good. This is great. I haven't played this way before. One of the things we've done is the tactical dynamics are really great, because what it allows you to do is kind of, oh man, I made a mistake, I'm able to come back and fix that. Some real-time strategy games you find, you might lose the game in the first 5 minutes, but you don't know it for another 20. Oh, I messed up in my build order, now I'm not going to be able to win the game. And we really wanted to try to minimize that so that new players had a chance to really kind of come back and learn as they're playing. And, there is a learning curve to our game, but we wanted that on purpose. We wanted you to feel challenged and that there was more for you to learn and experience as you went along. And our UI is also very simple.
Yeah,
which
that helps.
Yeah.
It helps a great deal. And you can really get into more about what it is you're doing, rather than having to figure out where everything's at, and how do I do this, how do I do that? Well, it's all laid out in front of you, and it's a lot easier to manage in that way, so you can focus more on the battle and focus more on how you're organizing your units and your base and that kind of things.
The game is also coming out for Xbox 360, and you're doing it with a controller there, so how is that challenge doing it with a controller?
Well, I think that, CNC3, when they put it on the 360, and Lord of the Rings really kind of laid the groundwork for a lot of nice advancements in control on the 360. Our game, because it's more centered around the units and their abilities, we've kind of developed our own way to play on it, and it's turned out actually really nice. Our UI was designed kind of from a console point of view to begin with, even though it's a PC game. And so it's really kind of helped us. We even have testers in our department that are actually beating players on the PC, and they're using a controller. Yeah.
PC and Xbox players, just for the record, will have the exact same conditions when playing.
Yes, they will. The PC players obviously have a mouse, and they can jump around really quickly. The Xbox players have some shortcuts to be able to jump to the radar very quickly, and things that keep it competitive between the two. But the great thing is even now, you can take a USB 360 controller, pop it in your PC, and it'll say, hey, do you want to switch to the console controls? You can say yes, and you can just start playing with your controller in front of your PC too if you really want to, and it feels just as good to play.
Last but not least, there's of course the multiplayer. Can you share a little bit about what you're doing in that aspect?
Not only do we have standard multiplayer where you can play, teams or solo, you can add AI, all that kind of stuff that's been in games before. We have some new game modes that people haven't seen before. We have one called DEF CON, which is a really cool game mode, which actually allows you to unlock every research in the game in sequence as DEF CON counts down towards DEF CON 1. And every 2 minutes, everyone advances in every tech in one step. And so you've got these hyperkinetic games that are great for like internet cafes and fast-paced tournaments where no game is going to last more than like 12 minutes because everything is going to get to DEFCON 1, all the super weapons come on, and everybody's just going to be this massive free-for-all of technology as you advance. We also have a Conquer the World mode too, where you can actually, you have a globe and you can take over territories and unlock medals and you can progress through your own globe, and the globe is actually almost like your experience bar. And as you go through different globes, you'll level up, you'll gain new medals. So there's this really fun. We're trying to make a multiplayer mode that can basically cater to every kind of player. You can play interoperable. You can actually play 360 versus PC, and it'll be very interesting to see how players do.
Yeah.
When can we expect to see it?
Xbox will be out in March. PC version will be out this holiday.
Okay.
Xbox is Q1 of next year. And the soundtrack is going to kick ass.
This is our sound guy.
Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you.
And we're looking forward to see more of the game.